My niece Sharpshooter went to the county fair beneath the lights. Her bold move shocked us all. The night was alive with laughter, the air rich with the sweet, sticky scent of cotton candy, swirling like a pink cloud around us. It was like stepping into a vibrant painting where every color pulsed with energy. But amidst the joy, an undercurrent of tension bubbled just beneath the surface. Something ominous waiting to unfurl. Lillian stood wide-eyed, her heart racing, as she watched her niece, Ava, take center stage at the carnival shooting gallery. Ava, with her fierce determination, struck a pose that screamed confidence. With each precise shot, she brought down targets that seemed to explode with confetti, and the crowd erupted into cheers. Lillian felt her heart swell with pride, her own worries fading, as she clapped for the girl who had embraced danger and delight in one fateful evening. But Oliver Blackwell loomed nearby, his usually stern demeanor swirling with uncharacteristics. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the thrill as the carousel skidded to a jarring stop. The music grating to silence. The laughter faltered, and gasps filled the air, creating a heavy blanket of tension. Lillian's heart skipped. She sensed the shift. What had happened? Gaslights flickered ominously, casting strange shapes across the fairgrounds, as people turned their heads toward the source of the sound. Dread washed over Lillian. The thrill of the fair turning cold. Did something dangerous lurk in the shadows? The swirling lights became disorienting, gestures of celebration turning into sinister warnings. But there, in the midst of the chaos, Oliver's gaze locked onto another face from the crowd. A woman whose presence felt like sharp glass on Lillian's heart. His ex-fiancée, Elise, stepped forward, an enigmatic smile playing on her lips. What secrets lay behind those eyes? Lillian's breath caught in her throat, her heart hammering as an ominous tingle traced her spine. Was this how fate crashed into lives like a runaway carousel? Just as their paths seemed to weave closer together, shadows emerged. Would this encounter ruin the fragile connection she was nurturing with Oliver? Ava pulled Lillian's arm, excitement snapping her back to the moment. But beneath the laughter and the colors, the unease settled deeper. The night was about to change, and the question lingered heavy. Who else was here hidden in the incandescent glow? Hey, before you continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And while you're at it, leave a like to help me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes a difference. Let's interact. Ava pulled Lillian's arm again, her voice bubbling with excitement. Look, Aunt Lillian, I hit the bullseye! But just then, the air twisted, a crack of unease splintering the moment. The colorful lights of the fair wrapped around them, but shadows deepened under the glow. A feeling gripped Lillian's heart, squeezing tighter with each tick of the clock. Elise stepped closer, her eyes locked onto Oliver, as if he were the only person in the world. The tension crackled like static electricity in the air. Lillian blinked, trying to comprehend the scene unfolding before her. Why was Elise here now? What did she want? Before Lillian could process, a piercing scream shattered the carnival atmosphere. It cut through the laughter, slicing open the night. "Help! Someone's down!" Panic spilled into the crowd, emotions boiling over like a pot of water that just wouldn't stop bubbling. Lillian's heart raced. Shadows danced wildly around her as the crowd surged like a wave, people pointing and gasping. Ava squeezed Lillian's hand, eyes wide, confusion mixing with fear. "Aunt Lillian, what's happening?" "Stay close to me," Lillian shouted over the chaos, her voice steely, trying to shield her niece from the unfolding nightmare. She scanned the crowd, searching for Oliver. He stood frozen, staring toward the carousel, the color draining from his face. The carousel had been the heart of the fair, vibrant and spinning, but now it sat silent. One wooden horse tilted unnaturally, pinned beneath a fallen vendor booth. The air shifted, the smell of cotton candy and popcorn mingling abruptly with something metallic and sharp. Fear. "Someone's hurt!" a voice screamed, and like a thunderclap, the realization washed over Lillian. In that heartbeat, another scream sliced through the night, this one shrill and unearthly. Lillian's stomach twisted. She pushed her way through the crowd, holding Ava tight. People scrambled away, eyes darting with terror. What had happened? As they neared the carousel, Lillian's breath caught in her throat. There, sprawled on the ground, lay a man in a crisp white shirt, blood pooling around him like a dark halo. It looked surreal, as if the world had been painted with a brush dipped in horror. "Oliver!" she cried out, spotting him near the edge of the crowd. He was pale, his face a mask of disbelief. And just as Lillian's heart plummeted, she noticed the glint of something metallic peeking from his pocket. A gun. Time froze. The crowd murmured, doubt rippling through the throng. Lillian's thoughts spiraled. Was that why Elise was here? Was she part of this? Tell me this isn't happening. She couldn't process the sight, the reality of what lay before her. Anger, betrayal, confusion swirled in her stomach. Oliver's dark past, the one he'd all but buried, was emerging from the shadows. "What's happening?" Ava's small voice cut through Lillian's chaos. But Lillian didn't have an answer. As sirens wailed in the distance, the air thick with questions and uncertainty, she turned back to her niece, heart heavy with dread. "We need to go. Now." The lights flickered again, casting sharp angles into the night. Everything felt turned upside down. Lillian and Ava moved away from the scene, but Oliver's gaze stayed burned into her mind. Was he the man she thought he was? Or was there something darker hidden behind the charming facade? As the fair began to unravel, Lillian felt the threads of her life tangling deeper, twisting tighter with every frantic heartbeat. Who could she trust now? As they hurried away from chaos, the swirling colors around them felt more like prison bars than a festive backdrop. What had they just stumbled into? What awaited in the shadows ahead? Ava tugged at Lillian's arm, her small fingers trembling. "Aunt Lillian, we have to help. Stay close," Lillian urged, her voice steady but laced with urgency. Panic flooded the air, swirling like autumn leaves caught in a storm. They moved through the crowd, people pushing back, their expressions twisted with fear and confusion. The echo of sirens drew nearer, and dread tightened around Lillian like a vice. She reached for Oliver again, desperate for his calm amidst the chaos. But through the swarm of bodies, he faded further away, pale and distant, frozen in a moment that felt unbearable. And then, abruptly, he snapped into motion, darting toward the scattered crowd. Lillian's heart raced. Was he running toward danger or away from it? "Please, wait!" she shouted, but the words barely made a ripple in the rising tide of anxiety. She dragged Ava along, her little face wearing a mask of mixed emotions, the thrill of the fair still fresh, but now marred with dread. As they approached the chaos, a medley of voices roared. "What happened? Is he okay? Get the medics!" Lillian squeezed Ava's hand tighter until she felt her niece's pulse racing beneath her skin. Suddenly, the crowd screamed as something crashed near the carousel. Lillian gasped, straining to see. And then the chaos changed. A figure burst from the shadows, shoving through the gathered crowd. He was tall, clad in dark clothing, and his movements were wild, panicked. "Get back! Get back!" he yelled, eyes wide with terror. The man pushed past Lillian, and time seemed to slow. She caught a glimpse of his face, a face that sent a shiver racing down her spine. It looked hauntingly familiar. "Oliver!" she shouted, recognition rushing in like a flood. But it wasn't Oliver. The man was a former classmate, Jason, always lurking in the back of her mind as a ghost of their shared past. They had lost touch, but his simmering rage was still etched in her memory. Why was he here? Before she could process, he yelled again. "You didn't protect me!" The words struck Lillian hard, reverberating through her chest. Shocked murmurs joined the rising tide of chaos, and Oliver turned. Recognizing Jason, too, Lillian could see the betrayal wash over Oliver's features. What was happening? She felt the air leave her lungs. This wasn't just a carnival gone wrong. It was a collision of past and present. Secrets and lies rising to the surface like the bloody pool at their feet. "Get away from him!" Oliver bellowed, advancing toward Jason, his expression twisting into something dark. Lillian stepped forward, grasping Ava's trembling shoulders. "Stay back!" she warned, eyes darting between the two men. But Jason was relentless, his eyes blazing with fury. "You think you're better than me? You left me!" Suddenly, the world around them shifted again. A gunshot rang out, sharp and loud, silencing the crowd. Everything froze. Breath, heartbeats, thoughts. Lillian's vision blurred. As the noise faded, she saw the chaos unfold. Jason stumbled back, his face a mask of shock, hands reaching for his stomach. Blood blossomed against his shirt, dark and pulsing, the life draining from him as the figures blurred around him. "Jason!" she gasped. The crowd erupted into panic, scrambling back, faces contorted in horror. "No! Someone call for help!" Ava cried out, wide-eyed. "Aunt Lillian, what's happening?" But Lillian couldn't move. Terror wrapped around her throat like ice. Did Oliver pull the trigger? Was this the truth hidden beneath his charm? She couldn't breathe. She wanted to scream. And then she caught a glimpse of Elise standing at the edge of the crowd, a smirk tugging at her lips, her eyes locked on Oliver. A spark of recognition ignited in Lillian's mind, and she felt a chill crawl down her spine. What did Elise know? What secret had Oliver guarded so fiercely? Questions raced in Lillian's mind as the chaotic scene unfurled. She felt the world shatter around her. Trust crumbled like glass upon hard concrete. As sirens wailed, she knew it was far from over. The night had unspooled into a tangled web of danger and deceit. What lay ahead? Could she still protect Ava? And what awaited in the shadows behind their shattered fairy tale? Lillian stood frozen, the chaos swirling around her as the crowd shrieked and surged like a restless tide. The blast of the guns still echoed in her ears, but her heart raced for a different reason. Ava gripped her hand, the little girl's face pale, eyes wide with fear. "Aunt Lillian, what's going on? Stay close, sweetheart," Lillian whispered, a lump forming in her throat. She could barely breathe. The sirens wailed in the distance, a shrill reminder that time was running out. The crowd pressed tighter, some trying to escape, others glued in shock. Lillian's heart sank as she maneuvered Ava through the mass of bodies, desperation clawing at her insides. But then she heard a different voice cutting through the noise, a voice she recognized. "Lillian!" It was Oliver. He pushed through the crowd, eyes frantic. An image of him pulling the trigger flashed in her mind, but it vanished when she saw his face. His expression was one of pure anguish. "Get back!" he shouted again, a deep urgency in his voice. Lillian's chest tightened. He was defending himself against Jason, who was now on the ground, blood pooling around him. Thoughts spiraled. Did Oliver pull the trigger? Was this madness truly real? But in the midst of the chaos, all Lillian could feel was despair. "What happened?" she cried, her voice trembling as she searched Oliver's eyes for answers. "I didn't." His voice broke. He glanced at Jason, confusion contorting his face. A moment of silence fell over the fair, the crowd still, all eyes glued to the scene unfolding. That's when Elise stepped forward, a smirk lingering on her lips, a dark gleam in her eyes that sent chills down Lillian's spine. "Look what you've done, Oliver," she taunted, her tone dripping with satisfaction. "Shut up," he shot back, rage flaring in his eyes, desperation mixed with guilt. Lillian felt the air grow heavy around them. But before anyone could react further, Jason's eyes flickered open. With a labored breath, he gasped, "Lillian." His voice was a pained whisper, eyes wide with something she couldn't discern. "Jason, no!" Lillian shouted, rushing towards him, but something stopped her in her tracks. His hand, stained with blood, searched his pocket. "What are you doing?" Suddenly, he pulled out a small device, a flash drive, holding it high. "This will ruin you all," he croaked, voice filled with agony. "What do you mean?" Lillian felt her stomach turn. Jason's last breath escaped in a choked laugh, his expression turning spiteful. "Secrets, buried deep, will come to light." With that, he collapsed completely, eyes rolling back. Lillian fell to her knees, stunned. The crowd surged forward again, their gasps filling the air like waves crashing against the shore. Elise stepped closer, a sinister smile creeping across her lips. "You see, Lillian, this was never just about the fair." "What are you talking about?" Lillian snapped, anger boiling inside her. "Everything you thought you knew." Elise leaned in, her voice a low whisper. "Your precious Oliver. He's not who you think he is." Lillian's breath caught in her throat. The world tilted. She glanced back at Oliver, who looked like a man shattered, the weight of all that had unfolded crashing over him. A voice behind her whispered, he was involved with Jason. They were mixed up in something terrible. What? Lillian turned, heart racing. Who had said that? And how did they know? Elise grinned, and Lillian's skin prickled. Find out fast, Lillian. The truth may be darker than you can imagine. Confusion twisted inside her. How deep did this unraveling go? Just when she thought the night couldn't get worse, the ground fell away beneath her. The fair, once a place of joy, now felt like a trap. Lillian cradled Ava, who was trembling against her side. We need to leave now. But as they moved away from the chaos, Lillian felt eyes on her, the shadows closing in. What more lay hidden beneath this carnival of secrets? What else was lurking in the darkness, waiting to be exposed? The night had transformed into a hunt, and Lillian could sense it. Who could she trust? And was Oliver truly the man he appeared to be? Or something far more sinister? Lillian clutched Ava tightly, feeling the small body trembling against hers. The sounds of chaos mixed with sirens filled the air, a cacophony of confusion and fear. She could barely think, trapped in the whirlwind of panic surrounding her. "Let's go!" Lillian urged, pulling Ava through the crowd, but every face she saw mirrored her own dread. They were all clutching their loved ones, fear etched into their features. In that moment, it felt as if the fair was a living thing, suffocating under the weight of secrets and betrayal. Oliver's face flickered in and out of focus as they hurried away from the scene. Tears glistened in Ava's eyes, and Lillian fought to keep her own emotion in check. "I promise, we'll be okay. Just a few steps, sweetheart." But as they turned the corner, the lights seemed to sputter and dim, a kaleidoscope of color fading into shadows. Lillian paused, the air heavy with tension, her heart beating fiercely as if trying to warn her of something. Suddenly, the ground shook. A low rumble resonated beneath their feet, gaining momentum. "What?" Lillian began. But before she could finish, the fairground split apart like a giant zipper, a gash opening wide underfoot. Screams erupted from all around as people stumbled backward, trying to regain their footing. "Run!" Lillian shouted, gripping Ava's hand even tighter. But they were rooted in place, a powerful force pulling at their very essence. She looked back to find Oliver still nearby, shock plastered on his face. Then, like the flare of a match igniting a firestorm, a blinding light erupted from the depths of the fissure. In an instant, figures started to emerge from the glow, shadows that twisted and contorted, taller than any carnival ride. Lillian felt a wave of heat wash over her, her instincts screaming to flee. But one figure stepped forward, cloaked and familiar. "Jason?" she gasped, recognition crashing through her as he grinned despite the blood that stained his shirt. "How? I thought you were—" With cold clarity, he raised a hand. "Thought you could escape the truth?" His eyes gleamed with something otherworldly. "I'm here to show you." Lillian's breath hitched as he pressed a button on the flash drive, and reality distorted before her eyes. She saw images, a whirlwind of moments playing like a twisted movie. Oliver, but not as she knew him. His face morphed into a stranger's, a face that matched the man glaring at her from Jason's memories. The acts of manipulation, betrayal, everything swept over her like a fever dream. Words loomed overhead. "You're in over your head, Lillian." "No, this isn't real," she shrieked, pulling Ava closer. But the glowing images wouldn't stop. She saw Elise, too, woven into the darkness with Oliver. In a flash, it all snapped away. She fell to her knees, gasping for breath, everything she thought she knew cracking around her. Turning back to Oliver, she saw him stepping toward her, his face twisted. "Lillian, I can explain." "Explain what?" she yelled, her heart pounding. Suddenly, the carnival lights exploded in a dazzling burst of color, but it was deceptive, hollow. The crowd was gone. It was just her, Oliver, Ava, and the gaping chasm. And then Jason laughed, a low, twisted sound echoing through the empty fairground. "You're all wrapped in this now. Welcome to the real game." Lillian's blood ran cold. The game? What game? How deep did this go? The truth hung in the air, heavier than darkness. And Lillian stood at the precipice, teetering on the edge of everything she thought she knew. What awaited her on the other side of this shattered night? What secrets lay in the dark? Lillian stood at the edge of the abyss, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. The carnival lights flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced around her. "What game?" she whispered, eyes darting to Jason, who wore a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Suddenly, a loud commotion erupted behind them. Lillian flinched as a mob of fairgoers surged toward them, faces twisted in panic. She clutched Ava tighter, the weight of the moment pressing down hard. "We have to move," she urged, but just as despair threatened to swallow her, the ground trembled again. Then, without warning, a deafening blast shattered the night. The sound was a thunderclap, a roar that knocked Lillian off her feet. She barely had time to scream before the world erupted in chaos. In an instant, the carnival transformed. A brilliant flash consumed everything, blinding her, leaving only echoes of screams and shouts. "Lillian!" Oliver's voice broke through the haze. She felt someone grab her arm, pulling her up from the ground. She blinked against the bright light, panic clawing at her throat, until finally she focused on his frantic face. But the carnival was gone. No colorful booths, no merry-go-round spinning in joy. They stood in a dark void, the bright lights replaced by an endless black expanse. The whispers of the crowd faded, leaving only silence, heavy and suffocating. "Where are we?" Lillian gasped, looking around wildly. "What is happening?" Oliver's expression twisted with confusion. "I don't know. We were just together. We were together," Jason interrupted, his voice cutting through their panic. He stepped into the dim light, his demeanor changed, wild eyes gleaming with an unsettling excitement. "Did you think it was over? Welcome to my world." The realization struck Lillian like a bolt of lightning. Jason was so much more than the former classmate she had known. He was manipulating the fabric of their reality. This is your doing? But before he could respond, Lillian felt it, a shudder in her bones. It wasn't just the ground trembling. A ripple coursed through the air, stirring an unseen force. "Back! Everyone, back!" Oliver shouted, stepping protectively in front of Lillian and Ava. The embrace of danger crackled around them as shadows began to flicker and flicker. And then it happened. A blinding beam shot from Jason's hand, connecting with the void, and with it came a surge, a wave of memories, secrets, and darkness pouring forth like a flood. Images of their time at the fair twisted into nightmarish forms. Lillian saw herself running, saw Ava's laughter shattered by chaos, but something else twisted in those shards. "No, don't!" she screamed. But suddenly, the flickering stopped. Instead of memories, a figure emerged from the darkness. A woman, her face obscured by shadows. Lillian's breath caught. The voice was familiar, yet foreign. "I'm back to finish what I started." Elise stepped forward, and Lillian's heart dropped. She hadn't expected this. "What do you want?" Lillian managed, her voice trembling. Elise laughed, a sound that echoed against the walls of their shifting reality. "You really thought you could escape? You have no idea who you're dealing with." Oliver spun, his eyes flaring with anger. "What have you done?" But Elise smiled, the kind of smile that chilled Lillian to the bone. "Oh, sweetheart, this isn't about what I've done. It's about what I've always known." Time seemed to freeze, and in that suspended moment, Lillian understood. The tangled threads of their lives had been meticulously woven long before this dreadful evening. In horror, she realized her world was about to shatter again. "Ava!" she cried, scanning for her niece, but the ground rocked beneath her, sending her stumbling. "Ava!" An ear-piercing shriek erupted from somewhere close by, and in a split second, everything lurched. Lillian turned just in time to see a massive figure looming. The carnival monster made flesh, a forgotten nightmare come to life. "No!" Lillian screamed, the truth crashing down on her with a violent force. "This can't be real." But as the creature unleashed its roar, drowning the night in darkness, Lillian knew. Everything she thought she understood was a mirage. And now, in this shadowy abyss, they stood on the brink of something far more horrific than she could have ever imagined. What would rise from the depths? What secrets lay buried, waiting to consume them all? Lillian stood there, the deafening roar of the carnival monster echoing in her ears, thoughts racing as the shadows of doubt and fear closed in. Ava clung to her leg, eyes wide with terror. "Aunt Lillian!" she squeaked, her voice trembling. Oliver's face twisted into a mask of determination. "We need to get out of here." "No!" Jason shouted, his enthusiasm palpable. "You're all part of this now." His laughter cut through the panic, sharp and unnerving. As he raised his hand to unleash another wave of chaotic energy, Lillian felt an icy chill wash over her. The monster let out a low growl, its form shifting grotesquely, shadows hissing like serpents. Adrenaline surged through Lillian, pushing her instincts to fight or flee. "We can't stay here," she shouted, gripping Ava's hand tighter. They began to back away, putting distance between themselves and the void. But just as they moved, the ground trembled violently beneath them. Lillian stumbled, almost losing her footing. The carnival monster roared again, a horrid echo of a time now shattered. Then, out of nowhere, the shadows twisted and contorted, bending the world before her eyes. A figure burst forth, a woman, clothed in darkness, yet radiating an eerie light. Lillian squinted, panic rising in her throat. "Elise!" she gasped, recoiling as recognition struck. Elise's smile was sinister, a predator savoring her moment. "Did you think I would allow you to go free?" Oliver stepped forward, a protective stance taken. But his face fell as Elise raised her hand. "You're too late, Oliver," she cooed, voice dripping with malice. And in an instant, everything shifted. A blinding flash enveloped them, stealing breath and sanity. As the light faded, Lillian looked around. They were no longer in the void. They stood in the heart of the fair, the vibrant colors alive again. But everything felt distorted, sickly sweet. The crowd was there, seemingly unaware of the chaos moments ago. People laughed and drank, a perfect facade draped over a fragile reality. Among them, Jason appeared, unscathed and different. A smirk played on his lips, and his eyes darted toward Lillian. "Welcome back," he said, voice laced with mockery. "Did you enjoy the show?" "Show? What show?" Lillian's voice trembled, confusion pulling at her thoughts. "Everything was a setup. This whole night was orchestrated. A twisted reminder of your past," Jason proclaimed, his eyes glinting with wicked delight. Lillian's heart raced. Her past? The fair, the chaos, the danger. It felt intertwined with something she couldn't grasp. "What are you talking about?" she yelled, frustration boiling over. And that's when Elise stepped forward, eyes sparkling with cruel intent. "You see, Lillian, everything you thought you knew about Oliver, about me, about any of this, was crafted from your memories. This is no accident, it's revenge." Revenge? The word hung in the air like a storm cloud. Lillian's chest tightened. "What have you done?" "Oliver knew," Elise declared, glancing at Oliver, who looked shattered. "He's been living a lie right alongside you. He betrayed you just as Jason betrayed me." Lillian felt the ground give way beneath her. "What do you mean? This can't be true." But then, Oliver's expression shifted. He stepped forward, his voice trembling. "Lillian, I never meant for any of this to happen." "Then why didn't you tell me?" she shouted, anger mixing with desperation. "The truth would have destroyed you," he replied, anguish filling his eyes. A sudden realization struck Lillian like a lightning bolt. "You've all been playing with me. I'm just a pawn in this game?" Jason laughed, and though it was unsettling, it was filled with triumph. "Welcome to the game, Lillian. Now you can uncover the real secrets." She looked around, fear gripping her heart. Was everything a part of some twisted revenge? The truth felt like shards of glass slicing through her. As Lillian stood at the precipice of chaos anew, she could feel the world tilt once more. The question hung thickly in the air. What were the real secrets behind the threads that connected them all? And could she still trust anyone, including herself? Lillian stood there, the weight of the moment pressing heavily upon her chest. The laughter and joy of the fair faded into an unsettling silence, the air thick with tension. She searched Oliver's face, desperate for the answers that danced just out of reach. Would he confirm what Elise had claimed? "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," he said, voice trembling, but his gaze darted to the shadows, avoidance thickening the air between them. Then, what is this? What game? Lillian pressed, the desperation rising like bile in her throat. I can explain! Oliver reached for her, but the shadows loomed closer, hungry and relentless, snaking around them. Please, just stop, she shouted, tears pricking at her eyes. This night had become a storm, swirling out of control. And then suddenly, Jason dashed forward, a wild look in his eyes. The flash drive still clutched tightly in his hand. You're missing the point. You've all been manipulated. This isn't just about revenge. His voice quaked with urgency. Lillian cringed, feeling the dread coil tighter. What do you mean? Look at what's really happening, Jason shouted, and with a swift flick of his wrist, the flash drive lit up, casting eerie images into the air between them. Her heart raced. It was a panorama of memories, flashes of her life. Kids laughing, moments with Ava, but then it twisted into disorienting fragments. Oliver, Elise, Jason, all caught in a dance of deceit. The colorful joy turned dark, painted with shadows of betrayal. No! Lillian cried. Stop! But Jason kept pushing the images, revealing snippets that cut to her heart. This isn't what you think. You're missing the most crucial detail. Enough! Oliver shouted, stepping forward. Suddenly, the ground shook again, a deep rumble erupting beneath them. Lillian stumbled, clutching Ava tight. The carnival monster appeared again, shadows stretching and twisting, an ominous figure reaching toward them. Run! It was the only option left, the voice drowning in the chaos. But just as they turned to flee, a blinding flash erupted from the sky. Lillian squinted against the light, her heart about to leap from her chest. She felt the world shift. The crowd around them melted away, replaced by a swirling void that sucked them in. And then everything went silent. When the light faded, they found themselves back at the heart of the fair. But something was different. The colors had faded into dull grays, the sounds of laughter hollowed. Lillian? Ava whimpered, her small voice breaking through the tension. Stay close, Lillian shouted, eyes scanning, but then she froze. There, standing at the edge, was Elise. But this time, she appeared different. Enough with the game, Jason, Elise said, her voice calm, a knowing smile creeping onto her lips. You've played your role well. What do you mean? Jason stepped back, confusion washing over him. Take a good look at everything around you, she replied, her laugh echoing, heavy with the weight of the darkness. You still don't understand, do you? I made the game, but you were never its player. In that moment, Lillian felt the foundation of her reality shatter. The world around them blurred, colors spinning into a vortex. And there, beyond the lights of the fading fair, a truth revealed itself. A truth that left her gasping for breath. Elise wasn't just an antagonist. She was the architect of it all. A puppet master, pulling the strings of their lives long before this night. A realization hit Lillian like a tidal wave. Elise was not merely trying to ruin them. She was exposing the very essence of who they were, laying bare their worst fears, their darkest secrets. No, it can't be. Lillian's voice wavered, but the truth resonated. With that, Elise raised her hands, casting a net of whispered shadows around them, binding their fates together. Lillian's heart raced. Her pulse quickened like the flickering lights that surrounded them. "What have you done?" she gasped, her voice tremble. Elise's expression softened momentarily. "I freed you, but now you must face who you truly are." And before Lillian could react, she felt a surge, images bombarding her mind. Memories she thought were lost, but intertwined. With every passing second, the weight of realization carved deeper. Could it be true? Had they all been woven into a complex tapestry of deception? As the shadows closed in, Lillian's world was exploding, spiraling into an unfathomable abyss. What awaited her in the darkness? And could she rise from the ashes of the truth, while uncovering every hidden fragment within? Lillian felt the weight of Elise's words crush her chest. "What have you done?" she gasped, confusion swirling in her mind. Ava clung to her, as if sensing the danger nearby. Lillian's heart raced. The carnival lights flickered around them, casting long shadows that twisted with menace. "Face who you truly are," Elise repeated, her grin unfurling like a dark flower. "This is your chance." Oliver shifted beside Lillian, a look of panic glazing his eyes. "Lillian, please," he began, but Jason interrupted. "This is the real game. The past is coming to consume all of you," he shouted, raising the flash drive again. Suddenly, the void around them pulsed with energy. Lillian's breath hitched. The carnival monster reared its head. It was closer now, its dark presence looming, hungry for attention. Lillian screamed as the world warped around her. Flickers of light erupted from Jason's device, merging memories and dreams into a hall of mirrors. "Stop!" she cried, clutching Ava tighter, her heart pounding in a frantic rhythm. And then, amid the chaos, something shifted. The air thickened, a grating sound slicing through the panic, and a crack appeared in the darkness. From it, a familiar figure stepped forward, unraveling the strings of Lillian's mind. "Mom?" she whispered, feeling the air leave her lungs. It was her mother, standing in the sharp light. But her expression was not one of warmth. It was cold, steely. "Lillian," her mother said, voice low and even, "you must understand. This was never just about you." "What?" Lillian's heart stuttered. Confusion flickered like a candle in the wind. "Elise's game. It stretches beyond the carnival. It connects to you, to us all. You are part of something bigger." Suddenly, Lillian felt the ground shift beneath her, the shadows tightening. Gasps erupted from the crowd, and Oliver looked ready to panic. "What do you mean?" he shouted, confusion lacing his voice. But the figure who looked like Lillian's mother stepped closer. "You were meant to find the truth," she said. "But the truth requires sacrifice." "Sacrifice?" Ava whimpered, looking up at Lillian. In that moment, reality splintered. The lights flared, and the world around them morphed. Lillian found herself pulled into a past she couldn't escape. Memories flooded her mind, long-buried secrets, whispers of betrayal. "Lillian," Oliver shouted, but she was lost in a whirlwind of emotion, shadows creeping closer. Suddenly, warmth enveloped her, an overwhelming love that twisted into pain. She gasped, remembering moments with her mother. Hugs, laughter, safety. But then the shadows closed in, suffocating. "No!" she screamed, pushing against the dark. And with that emotional push, everything exploded. A blinding light engulfed her. Everything turned to white. Lillian felt herself suspended in time, caught between the past and the present. She could hear voices, familiar and strange, whispers echoing through the air. As the light dimmed, Lillian fell. She landed on solid ground, her heart racing, but things were different. The carnival was gone. She stood in a desolate landscape, the ghost of the fair lingering in the air like a forgotten dream. "Where are we?" she breathed. "It's over for you," a voice echoed, deep and resonant. It was Jason. "You made your choice." Lillian looked around, understanding dawning, like a balloon bursting. "What do you mean?" "Your mother was always a part of this," he said, eyes dark. "You're more than just a player. You're essential for a moment." Lillian felt the world tilt. What? But the truth that had felt so clear moments before began to slip, twisting into something unrecognizable. "Everything I knew, it's all a lie?" Beneath her trembling feet, the earth began to shift again, revealing cracks, doorways to chaos, memories waiting to consume her. And as Lillian faced those uncertain paths, she felt a chilling thrill of fear and possibility. Could she unravel the truth before it swallowed her whole? And what did it mean that her past was now irreversibly tied to this dark fate? Lillian took a breath, fear coursing through her veins. The game was far from over. Lillian took a shaky breath, feeling the tremors of her heart against her ribcage. Everything felt surreal. Shadows dancing as she faced Elise, still holding Ava close. "What do you want from us?" she managed, voice cracking with desperation. Elise's smile twisted with malice. "It's not about what I want. It's about what you have to confront." With a swift motion, Jason flicked the flash drive again, and the memories exploded around them, chaotic fragments of laughter and screams merging into a cacophony of chaos. Lillian squeezed her eyes shut, a lump forming in her throat. "Stay with me, Ava," she whispered, opening her eyes to see the carnival monster looming closer, each breath heavy with dread. "Lillian!" Oliver shouted, urgency filling his tone. "You have to break the cycle!" But how? The walls felt like they were closing in, shadows whispering secrets she didn't want to hear. She turned sharply towards Oliver. "What do you mean? The past, our past, it's all connected," he shouted. But before he could finish, the monster roared, shaking the ground beneath them. "Face it, Lillian. You have to decide," Jason cried, the darkness swirling like a storm. With a burst of courage, Lillian's vision sharpened. She glanced down at Ava. "I won't let this darkness take you." In that moment, she felt the warmth of her mother's presence among them. "Lillian, you have the power." A voice wrapped in comfort echoed in her mind. "Choose to break free." Without thinking, she stepped forward, pulling all her strength together. "You have no hold on us!" Lillian screamed, unleashing every ounce of courage within her. The flash drive surged with light, and suddenly a rip appeared in the air, pulling the darkness towards it. The monster shrieked, contorting and howling as it was drawn into the light, its presence fading into something like mist. As the void began to close, Lillian felt a rush of freedom course through her. "It's over!" she shouted, clenching Ava's hand tighter. "We're free!" With one powerful push, she tore the darkness apart. Light enveloped them, warmth washing over Lillian and Ava like a comforting blanket. The carnival shimmered back into life around them, colors vibrant as laughter filled the air. Oliver stepped forward, his eyes filled with hope. "Lillian, you did it!" Tears streamed down Lillian's cheeks, relief mingling with joy. "We're safe! We really are!" And in that moment, every fear, every doubt was swept away. The shadows that had haunted them were gone, leaving Lillian to embrace a new dawn with Ava at her side. "Thank you, Oliver," she said, their eyes locking. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "I'm just glad you're okay." As the crowd cheered, Lillian felt light, like a weight had been lifted. She glanced at Ava, who was smiling, finally at peace. But then something shifted. From the corner of her eye, a shadow flickered. Lillian turned, her heart racing again, uncertain if the darkness was truly gone. "Not so fast, Lillian," a voice echoed, and she froze. Elise's figure loomed once more, a smirk still plastered on her lips. "Did you think it's over?" An uneasy silence fell, tension wrapping around them once more. The story wasn't finished. "Maybe this was just the beginning," Elise teased, her laughter dancing through the air like another shadow. Lillian steadied her breath, feeling Ava grasp her side. "Whatever happens next, we face it together." As she looked out at the carnival, laughter still in the air, Lillian sensed dark clouds lingering in the distance. The adventure was still unfolding, mysteries waiting to be uncovered. And just as hope sparked, the final words from Elise echoed in the distance. "You can run, but can you hide forever?" As the lights of the fair spun above them, Lillian knew it wasn't the end. It could never be. Now listen carefully, dear friends. You must subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the time to show your support. Press that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Tell us everything you think. Don't wait 1 second longer to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this ending. Your support makes all the difference.